Hello there, Bowerbird Maker here. Today I'm introducing basic quilling shapes for use in our cards. So I'm introducing this technique today, guys, of how to prepare some quilling strips. So I've got my guillotine. This guillotine is a Tim Holtz trimmer or guillotine. I've got this graph paper with 0.5 centimeter increments which I've laminated, and I've just basically attached it to my guillotine so that you advance the paper and trim accordingly by 0.5 centimeters. So I'm showing you how to quill these basic shapes. So first you do a coil with the quilling tool, and then you release, and you pinch each side of the quilling, and that gives you an instant shape, which is what's called a spindle shape. That's the most basic shape. So use the slotted tool and insert it onto the paper, coil, and as you coil you don't stop, you just coil and not interrupt the flow. Flatten, and then you pinch. This time round I'm pinching on just one side, then glue, and then allow the glue to dry. That's a teardrop shape. I will then make another coil using my slotted tool, release, and then pinch on both sides so as if to make a spindle shape, and then we glue. That glue, by the way, has the container has got a fine nozzle, and it's really good for quilling. You can find this in Amazon. I'm just trying to re-glue this now because the glue didn't take. And once it's dry, you can then pinch. So I'm just pinching the top bit so that I'm reshaping that previous point that I've pinched, so that when you then reshape it you end up with two ears that are sharp. That is the marquise shape. So it looks like a heart but with sharp ears. So I'm going on to the next shape, which is another coil, but this time round I'm going to lock the coil with glue, and it forms a circle, and this is called a closed coil. So forceps are really important because it allows you to hold the edges of the strip of paper so that it dries. So then I'm going to make another closed coil. So hopefully you can see that this is basically the basic quilling method. You make a coil with the paper, release, and then you do a shaping step. So for this one you simply lock that edge in using glue, and then it becomes a closed coil. So the forceps, as you can see, is what's keeping the shape round, because if you use your finger to press on that edge, it will make the paper indent and it will distort the shape. Because the intention is to do a circle, you will need a pair of forceps. So this is the third closed coil. So these are preliminary shapes that will result in other shapes. So hold it with the forceps to seal the shape and wait for it to dry. And there you go. So will pick up one of these closed coils because I'm going to form it. For this one, I'm going to try and make a diamond. So with your fingers, you basically create 4 edges roughly, so that you are pinching and forming 4 corners, as you can see. So you use your thumbs and your index finger to pinch and to form the 4 corners that you're creating, and it forms like a square at first, and then you keep pinching so that the corners become more pronounced and it becomes a diamond. So this is one of the more complex shapes, I think, that you can make. That's our diamond. And then for this other shape, you simply do pinching on 3 corners. So instead of forming a diamond, what results is a triangle. So this next shape, you fold the strip in half, bearing in mind this strip is basically the length of an A5 sheet of paper. Then you coil up to about 1 centimeter in, and it's on the inside side of the fold of the paper. And what results are 2 coils that meet up and converge in the middle to form a heart shape. And this is our heart coil. You could glue those 2 pieces together to keep it together. The next shape, we're going to coil only nearly halfway on one side, and then coil again on the other side only nearly halfway, and this is on the other side of the strip. So what results is an letter S shape that looks like a scroll. And the last shape that I will be showing today is the loose coil. So really you're just going to coil up to the very end, or nearly the very end, release, and that's it. It's the loose coil. So now that we've seen the basic shapes, I'm just showing you here how I use these quilling shapes to form elements in my card. So in this case it's flowers, surprise surprise, because I really like florals. So as you can see, before I start quilling, I would just put a micropore tape on my index finger on the left hand side, because it's really just to avoid paper cuts, because these paper, as you keep doing these shapes, can actually give you paper cuts sometimes. So that's just a safety little thing. You can get this micropore tape, which is like a very thin washi tape from Amazon. Another alternative would be masking tape or even cello tape. Any tape really that protects your finger is a good idea. So here, this is a very speeded up video, guys, because really it's just trying to show how I would form this floral motif. The card that you see there, Here's to a Beautiful Day card, is already finished. I'm just showing you how I would assemble these flower petals, which in this case is 6 petals, and then there's a central element attached onto the middle. So these strips that I'm using are about A4 in length, and they are a bit long because it's two lengths of A4 and they have been folded and I guillotined it in a bigger guillotine, but really the length of the strip for this particular petal shape is A4 length, and then that central thing, tight coil that I'm putting on the center, is a quarter of the A4 length, so that it forms this little center element. So I'm just showing the next flower, which has the spindle shaped petals as opposed to the teardrop petals, and you just build it. So quilling is a very repetitive process, so you really do need to prepare all the petals first, and then that then follows assembly, where you glue the pieces together. In this case, I am gluing them only on the tip of the petals, and then I'm putting them onto this bamboo tray that I have. And the good thing about this way of working is that the glue doesn't really stick onto the bamboo tray. As you can see, it just moves. So I'm showing you here this chocolate container where all the collection of petals are, so it's good to store them in like that, so that they don't go loose and you end up losing all that hard work. So really we're jumping into the final element here, which is the pink flower. The pink flower is slightly smaller compared to the yellow flowers. They are about A5 in length in terms of the length of the strip. So if you imagine an A4 sheet, you cut that in half into A5, what you get is this portrait orientation A5, and you cut the strips like that, and it will give you this size of petals. So I hope that brief introduction into quilling for cards has given you some inspiration. I will be posting some more videos in future, but for now, goodbye and see you soon.